Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Monkey D. Luffy's final bounty will surpass Goldie Rogers, the legendary pirate king. Yes, you heard that right. Luffy, the stretchy glutton who started with 0 berries in his pocket, could end up with a number that makes Rogers' bounty of 5,564,800,000 look like pocket change. It all starts humble, like a little boat in the East Blue. In Chapter 1, Luffy set sail with a 0 bounty, dreaming of becoming the Pirate King. But Oda already plants the seeds. Roger, executed 22 years earlier, Chapter 0, Romance Dawn, had a colossal bounty revealed only in Chapter 957. 5,564,800,000 berries, the highest of his era. Why? He found the One Piece, challenged the world, and inspired the Great Pirate Era. Luffy won't just repeat it, he'll surpass it because his journey is even more chaotic, facing bigger threats in a hyper-inflated pirate era. A 1 billion bounty in Rogers' era was the peak. Today, it's almost just an entry into the new world. This reflects a world where strength, dangers, and global chaos have skyrocketed, and Luffy rises with it. In Chapter 96, after Arlong Park, Luffy earns his first bounty, 30 million. Small, but symbolic. He defeats a disguised warlord early on. Compare that to Roger. His crew, the Roger Pirates, Chapter 966, sailed quietly until the end. Luffy? In Chapter 213, post-Alabasta, he jumps to 100 million for taking down Crocodile, an official warlord. Imagine the Gorosei sweating. This stretchy kid is worse than Roger. No redundant pauses. Each increase reflects a growing threat. In Chapter 320, Enies lobby explodes as Luffy declares war on the government. Bounty hits 300 million. Roger never did that openly. Luffy hits the gas, justifying bounties that climb past Roger's peak. Jump to Chapter 435, post-Enies. Luffy's 300 million already outpaces rookies of Roger's era. The theory gains traction here. Oda uses bounties as a measure of global impact. Roger was king in a less crowded era. Luffy competes with Yonkos, admirals, and revolutionaries in a world on fire. In Chapter 501, Sabaody, the 300 million bounty marks him as a supernova, but he punches a celestial dragon, something Roger avoided. Result, post-Impel Down, Chapter 549, 400 million. Every step screams Luffy's legacy will be bigger. Bounties included moving into the new world, where the stakes become tsunamis. Post-time skip, Chapter 601, Luffy returns with 400 million, but Oda accelerates. In Chapter 801, after Dressrosa taking down Doflamingo, another warlord, his bounty jumps to 500 million. Theory, this is foreshadowing. Luffy accumulates feats Roger took decades to match. Roger found the treasure at the end. Chapter 967, Laugh Tale, Luffy is already awakening ancient myths early. In Chapter 903, Whole Cake Island, Luffy invades Big Mom's territory, defeats Katakuri, bounty over 1 billion, escapes as the 5th Emperor. Bounty? 1,500,000,000. Roger never invaded a Yonko like that. His rivalry with Whitebeard was friendly. Chapter 966. Funny, Luffy turns afternoon tea into total war, inflating his threat level. In Chapter 957, Roger and Whitebeard's bounties, 5,046,000,000, are revealed for comparison. Luffy, halfway through his journey, already has 1/3 of Roger's. Theory predicts final bounty even higher because Luffy unites global allies, something Roger didn't do on that scale. By the Wano arc, Chapter 1051, Luffy defeats Kaido, bounty 4,611,000,000, awakens Gear 5 as Joy Boy, Chapter 1044. New bounty, 3 billion, Chapter 1058. Why surpass Roger? Kaido was the strongest creature. Chapter 923, Roger avoided direct fights with him when young. Chapter 1001, flashback. No repetitions, each victory adds layers. Luffy's haki earns nations like Wano as allies. In Chapter 1079, he humiliates Kid. Bounties reflect influence, and Luffy's network, Grand Fleet Chapter 800, is bigger than Roger's crew. Here comes the mystical touch. Luffy isn't just a pirate, he's Joy Boy reincarnated. Chapter 1043, Zunesha confirms. Roger was waiting for him. Chapter 968. Theory. This connection pushes Luffy's bounty past Roger because he fulfills prophecies Roger only read. In Chapter 1114, Vegapunk reveals the world sinking. Luffy, as Nika, Sun God, Chapter 1044, is the light against Imu's darkness. Chapter 1085. Joy Boy's haki awakens from 800 years ago. Luffy inherits it, making him an existential threat to the government. Roger's bounty stopped at 5,500,000,000 because he surrendered, Chapter 0. Luffy will fight to the end. Funny, imagine the Gorosei scribbling extra zeros on Luffy's poster. Like, this solar clown is worth more than our budget. In Chapter 1150, Imu's power destroys islands. Luffy counterattacks at Elbaf, recent chapter 1125 plus, earning a post-Egghead Elbaf bounty. On Egghead, Luffy faces admirals and elders, feats Roger shared with allies. Theory calculates post-Elbaf bounty 4 to 5 billion, final after Laugh Tale and the final war. Hypothetical chapter 1200 plus, over 6 billion, surpassing Roger by uniting the world against oppression, not just finding treasure. Time to confront legends. Roger sailed the Grand Line, found the One Piece, but avoided total confrontations. Chapter 966, God Valley with Garp. Luffy, he topples systems, declares war. Chapter 320, frees nations. Wano, Chapter 1057, awakens mythical fruits. Theory, bounties measure threat to the status quo. Luffy's revolution is bigger. In Chapter 957, Brand New explains high bounties as being tied to forbidden knowledge. Roger knew about the Void Century, but Luffy acts on it. Allied with Vegapunk, Chapter 1115, he exposes global secrets. Funny enough, Roger laughed at treasure. Luffy plans to use it for a worldwide party. In Chapter 1095, the God Valley flashback shows Roger saving slaves. Luffy does it on a massive scale, like at Sabaody, Chapter 510. Post-Marineford, Chapter 581, Luffy's 2Y message inspires the masses. Roger's execution did the same, but Luffy lives to lead. 2025 sources predict Luffy's post-Elbaf bounty. Chapter 1120 plus will rise. The final number surpasses Roger because Luffy defeats Imu. Theory, Chapter 1150 plus, something Roger never attempted. Blackbeard, his rival, bounty 3,996,000,000, Chapter 1059. Hunts devil fruits, Luffy uses willpower, an inheritance that inflates bounties. In the end, Luffy finds the One Piece and becomes king, but his bounty explodes for rewriting history. Chapter 968, Roger dissolves his crew after Laugh Tale. Luffy will unite pirates for the final war. Theory, bounty 6 to 7 billion, surpassing Roger due to a more dangerous era and massive allies. And we know, in Chapter 1116, Vegapunk's broadcast alerts the world. Luffy at the center, bounty skyrockets. At Elbaf, 2025 chapters, he faces giants. Victories add zeros. Funny, the government prints giant posters. Wanted, clown, who laughs at death, worth a GDP. No repetitions. Each arc builds, from East Blue to the final saga, proving Luffy's impact surpasses Roger's. We also see the immediate global impact of his actions. Unlike Roger, who sailed the world and then vanished, Luffy is rewriting the world order live with the entire world watching. And this isn't metaphor. One Piece shows a world where narrative shapes power, and Luffy has an unexpected ally in this perception game. Morgan's, king of the global media. Since the Whole Cake Islander arc, Chapter 870 plus, the World Economic Journal acts like a pirate CNN, spreading headlines that inflate reputations and put wanted posters at the center of global politics. Through Morgan's, Luffy is labeled the Fifth Emperor, something that didn't exist in Roger's time, when information was more contained and centralized in the Marines. Today, Luffy doesn't even need to be present to trigger diplomatic earthquakes. His actions are amplified in real time, like when he defeats Kaido and the news sweeps the world like a new dawn, Chapter 1058. The information age is a game changer. Luffy isn't just a powerful pirate. He's become a symbol of resistance, hope, and chaos. Bounties, therefore, are no longer just a measure of brute strength. They also measure how much someone can inspire rebellion and challenge the status quo. That's why his bounty must surpass Roger's, because Luffy not only knows the world's secrets, he exposes them, shares them, and acts on them. A key point validating this theory is Vegapunk's role. In Chapter 1116, he broadcasts long-buried truths to the world. Void Century, Joy Boy, the history of the sunken world, and who is beside him at that moment. Luffy. Roger and his crew also discovered all this, but chose silence. Luffy chooses confrontation. His final bounty must reflect this revolutionary stance, this pirate activism that threatens the world government, not just with the strength of his fist, but with the power of truth. This difference in approach creates a historical fork. Roger was a hidden symbol of the end of an era, a messenger laughing at the end. Luffy is the spark of a new beginning, the flame that ignites true revolutions, with name, face, and wanted poster plastered across the planet. And that's where the Grand Fleet comes in. Founded in Chapter 800, Luffy's Grand Fleet is made up of 7 independent crews who pledged loyalty voluntarily. At the time of its founding, Oda already hints, this alliance will cause a major incident in the future. Unlike the Roger Pirates, who remained relatively cohesive and secretive, Luffy commands a decentralized movement, making him far more politically dangerous. He doesn't lead by fear or lineage, but by inspiration. When pirates, revolutionaries, and even entire kingdoms align spontaneously with a figure, that figure stops being just a criminal. They become an ideological catalyst. Bounties in this world are assigned not just by strength, but by potential for instability. And Luffy is instability personified. There's another overlooked but central point. Luffy is alive. It sounds obvious, but think about it. Roger's bounty, though monumental, stopped growing when he surrendered and was executed. His influence became legend, yes, but the real danger ceased. Luffy, on the other hand, continues to amass power, allies, and knowledge. He is active, unpredictable, and center stage globally. Imagine the threat scale in the Gorosei's minds. On one side, a dead Roger who laughed at the One Piece. On the other, a living, smiling Luffy who can actually use it. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.